y'all, and welcome to today's video. I bought the new Unearthly Cosmetics Lure palette and Leather and Lace palette. I'm going to be swatching these side by side with the old versions of these palettes. The old version had the larger pans, a little bit of a different formula texture. So we're gonna swatch all these and then we're gonna create an eye look. We're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna tell you my thoughts, my opinions. Let's jump into it. Okay, y'all, so getting started, I did buy these two palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics. So Leather and Lace and Lure are existing palettes to the brand, but the brand is kind of revamping some of their older palettes. They're transitioning from these large palettes to more small pans. So they've done that with a few of their palettes. Now I know they're kind of redoing some of their formulas. So I wanted to make this video to show you the palettes side by side. Maybe you have the older palette, you're wondering if you need to buy the newer one. First of all, no. This palette with the big pans is beautiful. It's a gorgeous palette. You do not have to run out and go buy these new smaller pans. I really still love this palette, but I like to review makeup. Unearthly is one of my favorite brands, so I decided to buy these, and honestly, I like the smaller pans better. I think this is going to be better for me in general in my collection for when I travel, things like that. So I wanted to have the new pans. I'll also say the upgrades to these new ones are these are removable magnetic pans, and they do have the shade names printed on the back. I don't really make my own palettes, pop shades out, play with the shades like that. That's not a feature that I really need, but I know a lot of y'all do like to do that, and I think it's a nice touch that Unearthly did that. Both palettes, you still get a nice mirror. You can see the shades are the same. So since I have Leather and Lace here in my hand, let's start with that one. I'm going to show you these side by side, and I'm going to show you swatches. Now, the new version is going to be swatched on top, the older version swatched on bottom. Now, there's not a huge difference, but I will say the main difference you're going to feel is with these shimmers. The newer shimmer is just a bit more smooth. I feel like I can see a bit more sparkle in it. I do think I like the shimmers better in the new formulation. Not that I didn't like them in the old, and not that I'm telling you trash your old one, run out and buy the new one. Totally not saying that, just saying, you know, I can feel the difference, and I do like the new smaller pan one just a bit better, but both still beautiful, beautiful, beautiful palettes. So that's what you have here with Leather and Lace. And also the shipping has improved with these palettes majorly. They come in this nice protective box. So like this with Leather and Lace, you open it up and then the cardboard box is inside. Your palettes inside this nice foam. So I ordered 4 of these newly redone palettes, and none of them came broken. I will link my video. I posted that last week or the week before where I did In the Dark and Dead of Night, the other 2 palettes that Unearthly has put out that have been kind of revamped. So I'll link that video in the description box in case you didn't watch it. Okay, next up we have the Lure palette. This may be my favorite from the brand, definitely in the top of my favorites. I did an Unearthly ranking a while ago, so you can definitely check that out, but my collection has totally expanded since then. This is actually the first palette I ever bought from the brand, and it's what made me fall in love with them. So we have this size right here. This is the older version, and then I have the newer version here. I love the artwork. The color story, though, is what makes this palette a favorite for me. So let me show you these kind of held up. You can see how beautiful. Now, my older palette does have the magnetic pans, but you can see this doesn't have the divots, but you can just get a little magnet, pop them right out. Super duper easy. Both super beautiful. This one just has some casualties I had to repress, and this one all nice and new. So let me show you these two swatched out together, all of that. And again, the newer version will be swatched on top with the older version on bottom. So you can just see the swatch difference. Again, I'm not throwing this palette out. I'm not telling you if you have the older version, it's trash, you gotta go buy the new one. No, I still love this palette. I'm just happy to have this smaller version with this little improved formula. I just lost some of my shadow that was broken, but I do really like the shipping upgrade. I think that is so nice. Like I said, none of my palettes came broken. Everything's super nice. But I hope you found those swatches helpful. Maybe you don't have either one of these palettes and you're like, okay, but are the new versions good? So I hope you enjoyed those swatches. I am just going to do an eye look combining both of these. I think that will be super fun. I do have so many Unearthly videos here on my channel though, if you're interested. But let me put on a little bit of eye primer. Let me zoom y'all in nice and close and we'll play with these palettes. All right, let's mix both of these palettes. I want to start first with Leather and Lace. This is our more matte heavy palette. So we have 9 mattes here in this beautiful gradient, and then we have 3 shimmer shades. So what I want to do, I'm like, what do I want to do? Let's do the olivey toned green. Well, there are 2 olives here. This one's called Olive, but let's do the lighter one right here called Vintage. Okay, so I've got Vintage. I do have on my Sigma Ignite eye primer, and I'm just going to push in this shade kind of all in the socket. So like here's my crease, so right here in the crease. I mean, I have deep set eyes and I'm 35, so I have a couple of creases, wrinkles, and crinkles. So I sometimes think it's helpful to say like my socket. So here's the socket of my eye, and then I'm going to take it up above that, just kind of messily blending this shade though. Nothing too precise, just back and forth, back and forth. I did see a comment recently asking me if I put down my eye primer and then do I set my eye primer with like a translucent powder or some type of powder or light shadow or something. I do not do that. I put down my eye primer and then I go in with my shadow. That is how I get the most pigment and everything out of my shadow. And with a good eye primer and a good shadow, I shouldn't really have any skipping or anything. Although I do know a lot of people really like to set their eyeshadow primer. I just do not. I go right on top of it with my shadows. Okay, now I'm going to go into another color. We're going to kind of like mix it up. And what I want to do is grab this deep dark purple shade right here. So this one is called Aubergine. It's pretty. I love green and purple together. I think that's so fun. And I really think Leather and Lace, which I'm pretty sure I said when I did my like original video when this palette launched, is that I think this is a perfect colorful palette if you really like neutrals. If you're like, I kind of want to dip my toes into the color pool, I always think olive tones and purpley mauvey tones are kind of easy colors when you're getting away from browns and grays and shades like that. So you can see I'm just going to keep this really dark and deep at the lash line, and then I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to flare it out. So you can see the shadows stopping way out here off of my lid. So I'm just going to flare this out just a little bit, dragging the shadow with this purple and green. I don't want to over blend. I want it to be green and I want it to be purple, you know? So I'm just going to kind of take my time lightly flicking. All right, both of these palettes have a black. So I'm just going to pick up a black on this angled brush. And I'm going to put that at the lower lash line. I'm going to keep that pretty tight to the lower lash line, just like this, back and forth. Okay, I want to jump over to the Lure palette and go into Fawn. So this is one of those like sequin type of shades where it is a matte with some sparkle to it. And I like that it's this pretty like orangey yellow shade. And I'm just going to drag that along the black. I kind of want to put it underneath the black first. And then once I get it kind of laid down, I'm going to come up closer to the black and kind of diffuse the edges together. But I thought using this light kind of yellowy orangey shade would be really, really pretty. And I really like a matte with a shimmer formula. That's a formula that I see brands do that I really enjoy, because you can keep the sparkle if you really pack it on, and then you can kind of get rid of some of that sparkle if you really blend it out. So I just think it is a fun formula, but I'm just gonna go back and forth. So we have this more subtle kind of blend going on down here. Now, both of these palettes have duochromes in them, which I really like, but I kind of want to go for a very impactful lid. So I want to come in with this shade right here. This really pretty green. This is called Basilisk. So I'm going to pick this up on my brush, and I'm not going to use any glitter primer, glitter glue, adhesive, anything like that, but I am going to spray my brush after I pick up the shadow. Okay, so I'm going to look down, and I'm going to put this shimmer all in the center of the lid. I'm going to bring it right up here in the socket, not really above the socket. I'm going to fade it into this deep purple that we put in the outer corner. So I'm just going to kind of press that right there. You can see how sparkly this shade is. Really, really pretty. Just back and forth like this. Okay, now I'm going to go into Medusa right here. I am going to grab this shade, and we're going to put this on the inner part of the lid. I love doing looks like this with kind of two shimmers on the lid. I just, listen, the more sparkle, the better. And I think these greens are going to be really beautiful together. So I'm just going to put those right there. So far, so good with this shade. I feel like I'm getting lots of pretty sparkle on my eyes. I'm loving the kind of green purple vibes we have going on. I'm loving the mix of tones. But let's highlight this inner corner. And both of these palettes have really pretty inner corner shades, but I want to go in with one of the duochromes from here. And I think what I'll do is go with this top one right here in this row of shades that we use. This one is called Chantilly. So I'm going to grab that. I don't know if I said, but all the brushes that I'm using are from Unearthly. So let me see. I was looking for the little brush I have from them. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to just pop this right on the inner corner. So pretty. So pretty. And then I'm going to finish off this look just with black eyeliner. I think I'm going to keep it black. But this is our finished look, minus lashes, mascara, that type of thing. But I kind of like this. I think this is pretty cool. I like how I kind of winged out the shadow. So let me finish it off, and I'll be right back. All right, y'all, here is the finished look. I'm super duper into it. I used my liquid liner. I am wearing Unearthly lashes in the style Supernatural. I have a lot of Unearthly on. Let me tell you, when I was getting ready, I was like, let me just use my Unearthly stuff. So my lip is a mix of 3 products, 2 of their satin liquid lipsticks, Danielle and Mandy, and then the lip gloss in the shade Moss. Favorites, of course. I am wearing 2 Unearthly blushes. I'm wearing my Pat McGrath bronzer. I'm very glowy today. But I'm wearing my Pat McGrath bronzer, and then my blush is Tangy and Bloom mixed together. And then my highlighter is the Low Light Highlighter Single in the shade Twilight. So that's what I've got going on today. These palettes are great. Just what we expect from Unearthly. Very nice. If you were considering either one of these palettes, I really like these, but I've loved them since they came out. Again, Lure was the palette. I remember seeing it on Instagram, and I was like, I've never tried this brand, but the color story sold me, and if nothing else, the packaging sold me, and that's really just what started my love for Unearthly. So it remains one of my top favorite palettes. I just think it's so beautiful. Color story so beautiful. New formula. great. Great, great, great. And Leather and Lace. I've loved this one since it launched as well. I had to buy it. I just had to buy it. When these went on the site, I had to buy it. I'm so happy I have these. I actually have a trip coming up. I'm thinking maybe I should carry Lure with me on my trip. Packing makeup is always fun. It's always fun to like shop your stash and like pick stuff out, but I hope you like this look. I'm super into it. Maybe you're not interested in these palettes. You're just here to hang out with me today. Thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much you being here, like, I just appreciate it so much, how much I appreciate it. I really, really do. I hope you're having an amazing day. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I have lots more videos coming this week, and I will see y'all very soon in another one. Bye!